Very good day, everyone, wherever you are from. My name is Vaku, and I am going to show you today how to start up a Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft. And in this case, it's going to be the iFLY MAX aircraft. But it only has been released, I think, a week or two ago. Great aircraft, and if you want to see more about it, on my channel there's a separate video or show reel about this specific aircraft. The startup procedure will work on both the, for example, PMDG 737 series, as well as the 737 MAX aircrafts, because they're pretty much identical whenever it comes to their flight systems, except for a few add-ons and new things along the way, the closer you get to the MAX or by using the MAX. So let's not waste any time. I will try to keep this as short as possible. Just a simple startup procedure, including a flight planning / route towards a destination. We are now parked up at Manchester Airport, and we are going to fly towards London Heathrow Airport today in this Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 8. The first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna give this airplane some power. On the, let's just see if I can zoom out a little bit. Yes, I can. Perfect. On this top main top display, you will have a battery switch over here, which is open. It's currently set to off. You want to switch that to BAT or on. You'll see that this closes automatically, and now the airplane is using power from the actual battery. We don't want this to happen for too long of a time, and even the aircraft will give you an alarm signal at some point because we are draining the battery. So we need ground power, and as you can see on this top display here at ground power, the light is off, meaning there is no ground power available. We need to ask for ground power, so we go to this power button, turn on this display, we go to system page, sim menu, ground support, and then we say connect the electric, which means ground power, set and done, and here we are. Ground power is available. Turn it on. Great. Now we are no longer using the battery, but just the ground power, which we need and which we want. Now we are going to work with, except for one step, with just a top-down procedure, meaning we start at the top of this big panel and go down. First thing you want to do, emergency exit lights due to safety reasons have to be set to armed, so we set them to armed. From here on, it will close. Emergency lights are armed. Now we can do the top down principle over here. So let me just move up a little bit here. It's always figuring out these controls. There we go. The first thing you want to do is you want to use your IRSs here. Set them to nav. That's aligning the aircraft and making it visible to use navigation. Done. Once this on DC is gone, it means your aircraft is aligned and GPS knows your exact position of the aircraft. Top down then. We don't have to change anything right here. When we start up the APU and the engines, we need to make sure the yaw damper is on, so that's something for later. We don't change anything here. Well, we did fuel up the aircraft already. It comes with a standard amount of fuel. So we can turn on the fuel pumps already, because we will start up the APU soon. Nothing to change here. Nothing to change here. And nothing to change here. Then window heats. First two switches on. Center switch stays as is. Last two switches also flicked to on, to the on position. Probes are going to stay up to the auto mode, so we don't change anything there. Anti-ice is not going to be used now. That's something you generally use in very cold conditions once you've taken off. Then the electrics here, the hydraulic pumps of electric 1 and 2 are switched off. We want those switched on. It's low pressure because the engines are running yet. Then nothing to do here. Nothing to switch here. Just make sure everything looks like it is right now. Fans stay on auto. The packs stay off for now. APU bleed stays off because the APU isn't on yet. This is the pressurization panel, which is very important. Otherwise you'll get an alarm once you've taken off at some point because your pressurization isn't set up correctly. Well, we are flying to London Heathrow, And we are only flying at a low altitude, like 22,000 feet or something. Just check your flight plan, whatever your assigned cruising altitude is. By pressing B, you will see here, we will set our barometer to the right pressures. 260, this is for the ground. We'll set that to as close as we get. So it's either 250 or 300, but 250 is closer to 260 than 300. So 250 it is. Right. Top panel is pretty much done already. So pretty easy. Now, what we want to do is, you know, when we prepare for startup and push back in a little bit, start up the APU by flicking this APU switch down. Let's just move a bit forward so you can see. It's standard on off. You press it down, it will automatically flip back to on, and then we will give the APU just a minute to spool up. And yeah, give us the power via APU soon. In the meantime, we will act like everything's been done. So all the passengers have boarded, all the fuel has been set. We're now just going to prepare for pushback and takeoff. Before we do that, we go to the FMC, which already says that we need to enter our current IRS position. So we go clear that. We go to FMC, ident, pos init, and then we start putting in where we are right now. So we are at EGCC, Manchester, or any airport that you are starting from. You will get a GPS location number. You can even add the gates. To be even more precise, this is not necessary, not mandatory, but it is nice to have. And then you take the one which is most precise. So you will see that currently it says that this is our position. This is the position of the gate, which is exactly the same. So we just take any of them. And by clicking this button next to it, we select it. It's getting copied. And we paste it into the IRS position. Now the screens are coming alive as well. Then we'll just go from page to page. So we go to route. Well, we are going from EGCC to EGLL. So what we do is we put in origin EGCC. We are going to EGLL. And once we put in our origin and destination, once you've already set up a flight plan via SimBrief, it will be available once you've put in the both origin and the destination airport. So the only thing that you have to do, I know for a matter of fact that we're going to take off from 23 right here at Manchester. You can add that already. And then you press request flight plan. And you just wait a second. So it will load up the flight plan via SimBrief. And here we go. Route 1 uplink ready. You press load. It says loading. Activate. And execute. Now, here we go. Now, if we zoom out a little bit, maybe because of our position might be weird, but you can see there is the route is becoming available. You can put in your flight number. So for me, that will be Ryanair, because I use VATSIM, will be Ryanair 3 uniform November. Flight number. And once again, you need to tell it we are taking off from runway 23 right. There we go. That has been added. Then, before we go to the performance initialization, we want to go to the departure and arrival page. Over here, we want to set up the departure and the departure star. So we are taking off 23 right. And we will take off via the list to... Is it the list 2? Let's have a look. We will take off via D. Yeah, this should be the list to Sierra departure. I think the list to Romeo departure. No, it's not. What am I doing here then? There it is. List to Sierra. Execute. List to Sierra. Then you can go back to index. You also set the arrival at the arrival airport, which in my case is 27 left via the HON 1H. ILS 27 left. By the HON 1H. Execute. Then we press the route. Next page. Get the discontinuities out, because otherwise the aircraft will simply stop navigating when it hits a discontinuity. There we go. I just clicked it from one to another. So if there is a blank here, and there is something coming underneath it, you just click next to it, you copy it, and you can paste it over to the other line by clicking the button above it. Fair enough. All good. Now we go to init ref, and now we do instantly get to this performance initialization page. 0 fuel weight, just double click, it will automatically calculate it and put it in for you. Reserves, I always do 0.5, but if you bring more, you can obviously add some more to it. And then the cost index is pretty much how much power you want the aircraft to have. In other words, how much fuel burn is acceptable for your flight. I usually take 70. That gives plenty of power for your climbs and for your takeoffs. And as you can see, it automatically from SimBrief already took our assigned altitude of 190. Well, this is at 190. So that is perfectly fine. Well, then we go to N1 limit. Cell, you can go to SimBrief and check the cell temperatures, but just know it starts from 30 and goes up from 30 to, I think, 45. I always set it to 30. I know it's not 100% correct, but you will get the most power available to you for takeoff, which I just simply enjoy. Then we go to takeoff. I've always used a flaps 5 configuration, so I do flaps 5. Center of gravity, double click, and then you also set your V1 speeds by selecting them so they get this bold visual. If they're not bold, it means they're not set, and this means the aircraft won't call out V1 once you hit V1 speeds, and that's exactly what you want. When you click this center of gravity on the iFLY 737 Max 8, the trim wheel will automatically set the trim to this 5.99 or 4.5 or whatever it is based off of your configuration and your weights on your aircraft. So that's nice to have. You don't have to change anything there. Right, done and dusted. Right now we have set up our route. Our systems are ready for startup. On the main panel, we can now go and set up our altitudes. So we are not flying with ATC, so we would usually get a descent rate by ATC telling us when to climb to our designated altitude. But for now, we're just going to set this to the speeds. I don't know if it's correct, but what I always do, I set this to 200 knots. Above 210, you have to raise your flaps. So this gives the aircraft plenty of time to build up speed, but also will make sure that you can start climbing as soon as you're taking off the runway when you enable the autopilot. If you put this up too high, the aircraft doesn't want to climb because it wants to build up speed first. So I usually put it between 190, 210. And as soon as I see that we are climbing stably up and we've reached the 190 speed, then I'll usually put on the flaps. I raise the flaps and then increase this speed so we can build up further speed. Before we take off, we need to flick these switches on, the flight directors and the auto throttle arm. And one thing that we haven't done yet is we haven't set up VNAV. VNAV, we will just press the VNAV button, go to the page 3 out of 3, and we will press the forecast button. This will just load the weather forecasts, and will pretty much determine when the aircraft have to start descending to make a smooth descent into the airport and not overshooting it or anything like that. Forecast uplink ready, we press load and execute. Once this is done, VNAV is also set. So we can enable VNAV and LNAV. And we can start up the APU, which we have done already. So now we want to switch to APU power instead of ground power because we want to disconnect. So we will flip on these switches, and now we are running off of the APU power. We will go back to our system over here. We will discontinue the electric ground power setting. And now we're disconnected from the ground power. Next step would be that we're going to ask for pushback and the further steps from there. Right, here we are now. I've skipped a little part because I'm using GSX for pushback, and I didn't want to keep you waiting for a long period of time. But yeah, what will happen now is we will start commencing our pushback soon. You can see the aircraft is already raising on the pushback truck. And yeah, we have to start up our aircraft now. Right, I need to do a nose to the right, tail to the left. So what we want to do now is we want to enable on the right here. We want to enable our APU bleed, otherwise we cannot start up the engines. Release parking brakes. Parking brakes released. Commencing push. Now, over here we got our engine start switches. And we want to flip that to ground. And once you flip it to ground, you will see that the engine is coming alive. We wait until it hits about 10:15. And then we will flip on our fuel switch, which is positioned down here. We flip it up to turn on the fuel towards the engine. And we wait for a minute here. You will see that in a second, this will start spooling up. There we go. Engine is spooling up now. What you want to do is you want to wait until the number 2 engine switch goes to off, meaning that the engine has fully started up. Then you do the same step for the number 1 engine. I see that I have fuel on my center tank, which is usually not the case, but for this purposes, I just did a quick startup and it gives it to you standard. Well, set parking brakes. Parking brakes set. Waiting your confirmation for good engine start. Engines started up. Now we want to do the second engine. Do the same exercise. So we wait until it hits about 10:15. There we go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There we go. Give it some fuel. Engine coming alive. And if you have a look from the outside, I just think the audio of this aircraft is probably the best right now that you can get. Audio works on this iFLY 737 Max are just insanely good. Right, so the second engine, number 1 engine, is also still in the startup phase, but it will start up soon. There we go. Both switches are on, meaning we are okay. Now we want to turn off the APU, but before we do, we want to switch the power to the normal engines which are running now. So use these switches, and then you can turn off the APU. From here on, you can switch on your strobes, your anti-collisions. I should have turned on the strobes before we went for pushback, but for this demonstration, that doesn't really matter. And yeah, we are started up, and your aircraft is pretty much ready. The only thing you don't want to forget is turning your flaps to flaps 5. So I just set them to flaps 5 with my flight stick. So the flaps are coming down. And we want to set our auto brake switch to RTO, rejected takeoff, which will give full brake power once we are forced to cancel our takeoff attempt. And now we are ready. So we would get our taxi clearance, we would go to the runway, and we would do our takeoff. Our VNAV and LNAV are set on. So let's just have a quick takeoff to finish off the video. So here we are again. Oh, let's just adjust my camera angle here. And let's just make it out like we have takeoff clearance from this runway 23 right. runway. So landing lights go on, taxi lights go off, and the runway turn off lights can go on as well. You see that the 737 MAX 8 has a off, flash, and on position for the landing lights. At night time, I always turn them fully on. When there's still daylight, you can put them on flash, which is meant to reduce the amount of bird strikes. So, now you know. Right, we've lined up on the runway. We've got LNAV and VNAV set. We got our takeoff clearance. We got our landing lights on and our flaps set. So let's just take off by pressing the lever forwards. Get this show on the road. Get on the center line. Waiting for our magic V1. There we go. Rotate. Bring it up. Positive rate of climb. Yes, we do. Gear up. Here we go. We set the command button on the right. Enable it here. Now our autopilot is simply set. Well, we pass through a little bit of rain here in a second, it looks like. It's definitely raining over there. Gotta love the 2020 graphics. I cannot wait for iFLY Simulator 2024 to be even better than this. So you can see that the airspeed is coming up. So now I can increase the flaps up, and then VNAV will automatically also increase the speed for the aircraft as well. From here on, you just follow your further navigations, and yeah, as soon as you hit 10,000 feet, you turn off your landing lights. The runway turn off lights, you can instantly do that once you've taken off. Just leave these ones on flash until we've reached 10,000 feet, and we just do our flight following. And from there on, you have successfully made it into the skies with your aircraft. One important thing to finish off the video is once you've taken off, you will also see in your checklist, it says air condition and pressurization. That is the final switch over here that I've showed at the start. It's the packs left and right. Flicking that once to auto, and the pressurization will come alive. This is a must. If you don't, there's no pressurization and no oxygen for the passengers, meaning an alarm will go off. That is pretty hard to turn off, and that's something you don't want to happen during your flight. So, this is yeah, my little tutorial on how to start a Boeing 737 MAX 8, or even the 800 or 900 can be started up the same as this. So I hope that you will have a great time flying around in your Boeing 737 MAX or other 737 series, and that I could have been of a good help to get you on the road if you are totally new to Boeing planes, flight simulators, or if you are an Airbus pilot that wants to simply switch to Boeing planes. So for now, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to hit the like button and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more of these kind of content. Thank you once again for watching, and have a great day. Bye bye.